What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are at the Brooklyn Bazaar, and today we are here with the almighty Full of Hell. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Thank you.
Yep. Since I saw you guys on the Return to Roots show over 2 years ago, I was saying these guys got to get on the show. So it's great to finally make this happen.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So your newest album is Weeping Choir. Record is absolutely brutal, as always. Do you just want to give like a brief rundown on how the making of the record was and the record cycle thus far?
Yeah, this record was more complicated to write just because we were all living in different states. So it was basically because I do prominently like the guitar work and I bring it to practice or like bring a riff, but since I was living a couple hours away from everybody, it was like I would have to come to the practice with like a full song and show it to them. So this record took a little longer compared to the rest of our records.
Living in different states, you guys need a European member. Just make it more complicated. Right?
Yeah, it would help, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Get a member from Australia. What I'm curious is, do you guys tend to take a new approach to every album? Like, do you like to experiment with your sound, or do you guys have like a formula that you tend to like to stick with and like leave your fans knowing what to expect?
I feel like we stick to like a certain like I guess demographic of influences. Like every record we take influence from like say like Man is the Bastard or Discordance Axis or something, but then we try to take each record, those are like the prominent influences, but then we try to take like an outside influence. Like for example, this record with like Armory of Obsidian Glass, I was really into like Conate or like Corrupted or something much slower to juxtapose like the faster, more death metal grindy parts. So it's just like each record, like I said, we take like certain influences stay the same, and then like we try to add something a little different just to like change things up a bit.
Interesting. Now, you being the drummer, I was mesmerized watching you guys just sound check and just seeing, do you need to lay down a beat in order for and the rest of the band writes over that, or do you need to hear music in order to come up with like the rhythm?
Usually Spencer will come with a guitar part in mind, and have like a part, like a somewhat of a drum part in mind, and then I'll just kind of do my own thing over it. So really it's the guitar that usually happens first, not so much me like laying down a beat first, more of like an idea starting, and then we're like, okay, then we'll do that,
Yeah. Your music is like super fast too, I'd imagine, but like then there's parts that like are more sustained, and then there's parts that are just, you guys don't repeat a riff at all. So I'd imagine it's not like so much keeping a beat repetitive or anything like that. You have to come up with new tricks for every measure, right?
Yeah, I'm always trying to do something different, or I don't know, mix it up in some sort of way and do something a little creative, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Now, something I've noticed from the other two times I've seen you guys live is that, you guys are a very different band when it comes to seeing you guys live versus listening to you on the album. So when you are playing live, do you try to execute the material exactly how it sounds on the album, or do you like to maybe make it intentionally make it different than what people would be hearing?
I feel like too, like we take influence from like free jazz, like incorporated like grind groups like Naked City or like Painkiller or something. So like we try to add as much like improvisation as we can in the live setting compared to a record, but we still try to play the songs as close to the recordings as possible.
Yeah, I definitely do a lot of like improv sort of just through the set, and I pick up little things that I add to certain songs. I don't know, there is like some songs end up being a little different live for me, just playing drums, just because I like to change things up and add things. I think it's funner to do live. And improv, we've done so many improv things that it definitely comes through, playing live.
And you don't play to a click track either, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so.
No, never.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
That's how you know he's good.
I like the feel.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what it's funny is because I almost feel like your music is so experimental, I'd imagine there's a lot of improvising utilized in the songwriting process, right?
Not necessarily. Like, I feel like I try to, like I said, I try to keep the records, if we do improv live, I try to keep the songs as much to the record as possible, and I would like to keep, like, a solid foundation on a record. Of course, there are certain parts that we try to improvise, but for the most part, I would like to keep the improvisation live. Or like with like the body collabs, that's more of like we improvise in the studio on the spot compared to like a solo record. For us, we're actually writing it before we enter the studio, kind of thing.
Interesting. So it seems like you have like a bridge where you go to the studio with somewhat of a preconceived idea, but you're not fully dictated by it, right?
Well, like the solo records are fully dictated, but there might be like a certain jam section or noise section that we like come up with on the spot. But for the most part, there's like a solid foundation before we go in. That's why too, like, I mean, we're like a smaller band, so of course we got to like stay on budget and everything with the records as well. So we want to make sure that the songs are as tight as possible so we can stay on track of recording and not go over budget or over time restraints kind of thing. So like, but with like the body collabs, they're like more of a fun thing that we just do with friends. So we're like, we'll go in the studio and just do whatever kind of thing and see how it feels.
Maybe when you get like the bigger budget in the future, you could bring like a 50-piece symphony or orchestra or something like
Some
that.
St. Anger stuff, yeah.
Maybe.
We'll rent out a whole studio in Germany, yeah.
I mean, I know you need a budget for that. I know there's just a garbage dump full. Look, I could just get you a trash can right now if you want. Yeah. Now, on the other 3 times that I saw you guys, like the first time I saw you was on the Cavalera Return to Roots tour, and then I saw you guys with Cattle Decapitation and Revocation, and then I saw you guys with Gate Creepers. So fairly all very heavy acts, but at the same time I think there's a lot of differences as well. Have you noticed maybe different audiences depending on like the tours you've been on?
Yeah, and I think that's a goal for us too. Like, I mean, if you keep playing to the same people, it's going to get stagnant after a while, just for us and the audience. So like with like the Return to Roots, of course we're big fans of Sepultura, but that's more of like a mainstream rock new metal tour. So it's like it's a challenge to ourselves to present ourselves with such extreme music to like maybe a person that's like they've only like the most extreme thing they have heard is the Roots album by Sepultura or something, you know what I mean, more mainstream. And like I said too, it's more to keep us entertained because I mean we tour so much, we're going to get bored playing to the same people, the same venues over and over and over again. So it's like it's good just to switch things up, switch up audiences, switch up bands we tour with. Like this tour, it's like we got Genocide Pact that's more straightforward death metal, and then like Primitive Man is just like a death doom band. But I think we all complement each other, even though it's a complete like juxtaposition of what our styles are.
Yeah, I want to definitely do as many different tours as we can. It's fun.
Yeah, I could see you guys, like, you could do a tour, like an extreme tour like Summer Slaughter, but I could almost see you guys with a band like Killswitch Engage or something like that. I mean, I know that Jesse's a big fan of you guys, so.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be open. We're basically open to tour with any type of band just to, like, different experience. Because, I mean, we've been a band for a decade now. We want to do new things. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Celine Dion, maybe?
I mean, if an opportunity comes up.
Bring it on.
There you go. I see a lot of crossover in that. And I have 2 more questions for you guys. I know that you guys currently reside in Maryland, but Full of Hell is also from Pennsylvania, so kind of like East Coast sort of, guys aren't too far from each other. Is there a scene that Full of Hell kind of started in? Like, I interviewed Outer Heaven yesterday, who's from Pennsylvania, and like he talked about you guys and Rivers of Nile and Code Orange extensively. And I mean, Maryland has great scenes like with Dying Fetus and all sorts of bands. So was there a scene Full of Hell kind of cut their teeth in, or did you guys have to kind of go outside your state lines to get the name out there?
We had to definitely go outside the state lines. I mean, we live in a resort town that, like, during the winter time, there's only like 5,000 people there. So, like, there's not a lot of kids that are into extreme stuff. Like, it's like we basically come from a party town. So, like, we're like the outsiders kind of thing. So, like, I mean, the only reason that there might have been some sort of scene is like I used to book like metal bands when I was like 17, 18 years old in my area. And I know Dave went to like some of the shows I booked when he was like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
How is he as a promoter?
Oh, great. Yeah.
So, like, it's fair to say, because, like, I've always thought that, being the East Coast is, like, has a hardcore capital, and, Florida being the death metal capital, and Richmond, Virginia, I mean, Lamb of God, it seems like there maybe be an advantage being an East Coast band, but you guys definitely had to tour a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, because we're in a good spot because we're like a couple hours from a bunch of major cities, but that's also a downfall because we're still 3 hours from Baltimore, 3 hours from Philly, 4 hours from DC, so it's still complicated for us to get around.
I still think it was a good thing, though, just because it forced us to branch out and to play shows in other cities, where if we were, like, maybe from a city, we probably might have stayed there for a little bit longer, but we were kind of forced to tour nonstop from the start.
There's a comfort zone you enter if you're a band from, like, a big city like New York City. Like, you play the same people, and you're just cool with that, you know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of the biggest bands out there were from the suburbs.
Yeah,
so.
coming from a small area, it definitely helps to push you.
Yeah. And the final question I'd like to ask you is, going back to the songwriting process, is how do you guys know when a song is done?
It's hard to say when a song is done, but it's also too, like, it seems like most of the time when I write a song that I'm not really completely into or like the most, that seems to be the one that resonates the most with the audience for some reason. But if I absolutely love a song, kids don't, they're like, whatever, that's like, you know, a filler song or something like that. So it's hard to tell when a song's done or if someone's gonna like it. Or
I think
whatever.
we're always second guessing ourselves a lot, you know, but we're still, yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, a Primitive Man, like, their songs are, like, 15 to 20 minutes long. Like, how the fuck do you, like, say, we're done, we don't need to add anymore?
Yeah.
But your songs are just short, quick, and to the point, so I don't know if maybe you guys get a satisfaction factor quicker than them or something like that.
Yeah, too, it's like we also, too, we don't want to over bloat our songs with, like, a million riffs. Like, usually our songs have, like, 3 or 4 riffs, and we just try to, like, change it up, keep the same riff, but maybe add a note or change a note kind of thing. Like, but yeah, it's hard to tell when a song's actually done.
So before we go, I'd like to thank you guys so much for your time today. Is there just anything else you would like to promote after this tour with Primitive Man? This will be uploaded by midnight, so if it hasn't been announced yet, do not say it.
Yeah, I mean, we hit the road in Europe with the Body soon, and yeah, make sure check out Genocide Pack and Primitive Man because they're still touring after us. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. Everybody, Full of Hell, pick up Weeping Choir if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.